favorite around the highs, and the book looks well supported on both sides with heavy liquidity clustered near that level. With kickoff still ahead and no score yet, that's the market basically saying Mexico starts on the front foot, unless team news shifts it.
One minute in and Czechia earned a free kick deep in their own half. Guillermo Martinez, the guilty party, clipping Michal Sadilik. Early message from Mexico, they're stepping in aggressively, but you can't give away cheap set pieces this soon.
Mexico still sits as a clear favorite in the mid-range, and we're seeing chunky early buying leaning that way, even with plenty of offers stacked above. At 0-0 in the second minute, that pricing says the market expects Mexico to impose itself before Czechia can settle into the game. Mexico's still the clear favorite in the mid-range, and there's been another wave of big Mexico-leaning buying without really shifting the price. At 0-0 on 3 minutes, the market's basically waiting for Mexico to turn that early aggression into the first clean chance. Mexico remains a clear favorite in the mid to high range, and despite more big Mexico-leaning tickets, the price is barely budging, which screams already priced in. Had 0-0 in the 4th minute, the market's still waiting for Mexico to create the first real moment to justify that edge.
Four minutes gone, and Vladimir Kufal wins Czechia a free kick in their own defensive half. Mexico just a touch late again. Czechia will be happy to slow it down, get bodies up, and try to turn this into a clean exit rather than another scrappy restart.
Mexico's still sitting in the mid-favorite range, and even with more big Mexico-leaning buys, the price isn't really lifting, so that confidence looks fully priced. At 0-0 on 5 minutes, the market's basically saying Mexico need a first clear chance soon to keep that edge credible. Mexico stays a mid's favorite, and even with another burst of Mexico leaning size, the price is basically pinned there, so the market's not upgrading the edge yet. At 0-0 after 6 minutes, that tells you traders want to see Mexico turn the early pressure into a real chance before paying up.
Six minutes in and it's still 0-0, but we've already got a little edge to this one. Mateo Chavez clips Kufal, then Kufal returns the favor a minute later. Mexico win the free kick out on that left wing, a good early platform to swing one into the mix-up.
Mexico still prices the favorite in the mid-range, and even with another big wave of Mexico buying, the odds are basically pinned, so there's no fresh upgrade. At 0-0 on 7 minutes, that's the market waiting for Mexico to produce the first real chance to justify the edge. Mexico is still priced around the mids as the favorite. And even with heavy Mexico leading size, the market's basically pinned, so there's no fresh upgrade in confidence. At 0.8 minutes in, that steadiness says traders are still waiting on Mexico to create the first real chance.
7 minutes in, and Czechia have a real look at it. Vladimir Kufal rises in the middle and heads it, but he can't keep it down, and it goes wide. That's a warning from Mexico. Even early on, Czechia can make set-piece moments count with bodies attacking the box.
Mexico still priced as a favorite in the mid-range, and despite another stack of big Mexico leaning orders, the odds are basically unchanged, so the market isn't upgrading them yet. At 0-0 on 9 minutes, that steadiness keeps the draw alive unless Mexico starts turning this into clear chances.
8 minutes in, and Czechia have carved out a big opening. Denis Fijinsky right through the middle of the box, but he drags the right foot finish wide to the left. That's the kind of central chance you don't see often this early, and Mexico will feel that warning straight away at 0-0.
Mexico's still sitting in a mid-favorite range, and despite more big Mexico-leaning size, the price is basically glued there, with the draw holding in the midses. At 0-0 on 10 minutes, that steadiness keeps the draw very tradable unless Mexico start converting that aggression into a clear chance.
Minutes gone, still 0-0, and it's a foul by Edson Alvarez for Mexico. That's another little stop-start moment in midfield, and Czechia will gladly take these free kicks to settle the ball and get their shape back before Mexico can build any rhythm.
Mexico still priced as the clear favorite in the mid-range, and even with another big wave of Mexico leaning size, the market's basically pinned there, while the draw sits mid. At 0-0, after 1 minutes, that steadiness keeps the draw very live, unless Mexico start creating cleaner chances.
"12 minutes and Czechia go close again. Makasadilek arriving centrally and flashing a left-footed effort from the middle of the box, but he can't keep it down, and it's off target. That's 2 big central looks already for Czechia. Mexico have to tighten that space in front of their back line.
Mexico's still priced as a mid's favorite, but the odds are basically pinned, even after another heavy wave of Mexico-leaning buying. At 0-0 with Czechia already getting central looks, that lack of lift keeps the draw firmly in play for now. Mexico still priced as a mids favorite even after another chunky Mexico-leaning wave. So the market's basically saying no upgrade yet. At 0-0 on 1, 3 minutes with Czechia already finding central shots that keeps the draw, and a Czechia nick very much on the table. Mexico still prices a mids favorite, but it's basically flat despite more Mexico leading size, and Czechia's win chance is still only lows. At 0-0 on a 1-4 minutes, that steadiness keeps the draw very live unless Mexico finally turn possession into a clear chance. Mexico's still priced as a mids favorite, and even with big Mexico-leaning tickets, the odds aren't really budging. So that edge looks fully paid for right now. At 0-0 in the 1-3 TH minute, that flat line keeps the draw firmly in play unless Mexico produce the next clear chance.
Minutes gone, still 0-0, and Denis Vyšky has another go for Czechia. This time he lets fly right-footed from outside the box, but he can't keep it on target. Mexico has still given Czechia that little pocket to step into and shoot.
Mexico's still priced as a mids favorite, and even with another big Mexico-leaning ticket, the odds are basically pinned while the draw holds mids. At 0-0 after 1-5 minutes, that flat line keeps the draw very live, unless Mexico start turning control into clear chances. Mexico still prices a mids favorite, with Czechia lows in the draw mid-eyes, and despite heavy Mexico-leaning size, the market's basically flat. At 0-0 6 minutes, that steadiness keeps the draw very live, unless Mexico finally turn pressure into a clear chance. Mexico still sits as a mid-house favorite with the draw in the mid-house, and even after another big Mexico-leaning wave, the pricing barely moves. At 0-0 on 1-7 minutes, that flat line says the market needs Mexico to create the next clear chance to justify the edge.
17 minutes, still 0-0, and it's a handball against Luis Romo. Czechia get the free kick, but Mexico responds straight away with Cesar Montes winning one back in their own half. It's getting a bit stop-start, and Czechia will fancy another set-piece moment after those early central looks.
Mexico is still priced as a mids favorite, with Czechia and the lows and the draw mids, and even after another big Mexico leaning wave, the market barely flinches. At 0-0 on 1/8 minutes, that stubborn pricing keeps the draw very much alive, unless Mexico start generating cleaner chances.
"17 minutes and it's a foul by Adam Hlojek for Czechia. And again, we get that little stoppage in midfield with the score still 0-0. It's been choppy so far, and neither side has really been allowed to build a clean passing rhythm through the middle.
Mexico is still priced as a low to mid favorite, and even with another stack of Mexico leaning size, the market's basically unchanged, while the draw sits mid-size. At 0-0 in the 1/9th minute, that tells you the game state is still feeding the stalemate trade more than a Mexico breakthrough. Mexico's still sitting just over a 5-0 favorite with Czechia lows and a draw highs. And even after more Mexico leaning size, the pricing barely shifts. At 0-0 on 2-0 minutes, that stubborn line keeps the draw trade very much alive unless Mexico finally create a clean chance. Mexico still only a touch above a 5-0-50 favorite, with Czechia lows and the draw highs, even after more Mexico leaning size hit the tape. At 0-0 on 2-0 minutes, that flat pricing keeps the stalemate firmly in the driving seat, unless Mexico finally land a clear-cut chance. Mexico's still just a shade above 5-0 to win, even after another big Mexico leaning hit, so the price is basically pinned with the draw still in the highs. At 0-0 on 2-1 minutes, that screams, prove it for Mexico, until they create a clear chance the stalemate stays the market's base case.
Foul at 2-1 minutes, Robin Juana goes through his men in Mexico, get the free kick, and it's still 0-0. That just keeps feeding this stop-start rhythm. Neither side can string a clean spell together through midfield without another whistle.
Mexico is still only a touch above a 5-0 favorite, and even with another heavy Mexico-leaning wave, the win price barely moves while the draw holds in the highs. At 0-0 on 2-2 minutes, that tells you the market's still set up for a stalemate, unless Mexico finally carve out the next big chance.
Robin Hanech is penalized for the foul at 2-1 minutes, and then at 2-2, we've got a drinks break. Stop and play with it. Still 0-0 between Czechia and Mexico. It's been really bitty so far. Every time either side tries to build through midfield, another whistle just kills the rhythm.
Mexico's still only a shade above 50-50 to win, and even with another big Mexico-leaning wave, the price barely shifts while the draw stays in the highs. At 0-0 on the 2-3 RD minute, that prove-it line keeps the stalemate trade in front unless Mexico finally create a clear-cut chance. Mexico still only a shade above 50% to win with Czechia lows and the draw highs, and even that fresh Mexico heavy flow hasn't really budged the line. At 0-0 on 2-3 minutes, the market's basically demanding a real Mexico chance before it prices in a breakthrough. Despite another chunky wave backing Mexico, the win odds are still basically pinned around the low to mid-range, rather than lifting. With it still 0-0. At 2-4 minutes, that flat line keeps the draw firmly in play unless Mexico finally produce a clear-cut chance. Mexico still prices a low S favorite with the draw in the highest, and the line looks basically pinned despite all that resting liquidity. At 0-0 on 2-4 minutes, that's the market saying Mexico need a real chance soon or the stalemate stays the default. Mexico still priced just over 50% to win, and even with heavy Mexico leaning size, the line looks basically pinned while the draw sits in the highs. At 0-0 on 2-4 minutes, that's a show us market until Mexico create a clear chance. The stalemate stays the cleanest. Read? Mexico's still a low S favorite, and the pricing looks pinned despite repeated Mexico laning size, with the draw holding in the highs. At 0-0 on 2-5 minutes, that's the market leaning to a KG first half, unless Mexico finally turned possession into a clear chance. Mexico's still only a low Wars favorite with the draw in the highs, and even another big Mexico-backed wave hasn't lifted that line. At 0-0 in the 2-6 minute, that pricing says the market's still waiting on Mexico to actually force the breakthrough. Mexico stays a low S favorite, and the line still looks pinned, even with more Mexico laning size going through. At 0-0 in the 2-6 minute, that steadiness keeps the draw very live, unless Mexico finally manufacture a clear-cut opening.
26 minutes, still 0-0, and Pablo Suc wins Czechia a free kick deep in their own half as we restart after that drinks break. Another whistle, another reset. This game just hasn't found any real flow through midfield yet.
Mexico still prices the lows favorite with Czechia and the lows and the draw highs. And even that fresh Mexico heavy buying hasn't really shifted the line. At 0-0 on 2-6 minutes, the market's basically sticking with a KG first half unless Mexico finally create a clear chance. Mexico still priced just over a 5-0 favorite with Czechia lows and the draw highs, and even those big Mexico buys aren't lifting the line. At 0-0 on 2-7 minutes, that pin pricing keeps the stalemate feel in charge, unless Mexico finally land a real chance.
26 minutes in, still 0-0, and Luke Sasherev wins Czechia a free kick back in the defensive half to relieve a bit of pressure. Then at 2-7, Denis Vicious, he pulls the trigger from the middle of the box, but Aitz Masep get bodies in and block it. Lozak did well to tee that up.
Mexico's still just a touch above 50% to win, and even with another Mexico leading burst, the line isn't really lifting while the draw holds in the highs. At 0-0 on 8 minutes, that flat pricing keeps the stalemate trade in front unless Mexico finally carve out a clear chance. Mexico's still only a touch above a 5-0 favorite, and even with another big Mexico-leaning wave, the price action stays basically pinned while the draw holds in the highs. At 0-0 on 8 minutes, that steadiness keeps the stalemate feel on top unless Mexico finally turns pressure into a clear chance. Mexico still sits around a 5-0 favorite with a draw near 3-0, and even with heavy Mexico leading size, the pricing hasn't really budged. At 0-0 on 9 minutes, that flat line keeps the first half stalemate as the market's cleanest read. Mexico still priced as roughly a 5-0 favorite with a draw near 3-0, and despite more Mexico-leaning size, the line hasn't really lifted. At 0-0 in the 3-1 St. minute, that steady pricing keeps the stalemate very live unless Mexico finally produce a clear-cut chance. Mexico's still the clear favorite, but it's eased into the highs, while the draw has firmed into the lows, and Czechia sits in the lows. At 0-0 on 3 minutes, that's the market, leaning harder toward a grindy first half, unless Mexico finally creates something decisive. Mexico's win chance is now sitting just under 50%, while the draw has firmed into the low 30s, even after another wave of Mexico leaning sides. At 0-0 on 4 minutes, the drift keeps the stalemate trade in front unless Mexico can finally force a real breakthrough. Mexico's win odds have slipped into the highs, while the draw has firmed around 3-0, even with plenty of Mexico-leaning flow still showing up. At 0-0 in the 3/14 minute, that's the market pricing a stubborn first half, unless Mexico finally find a clean opening. Mexico's still the narrow favorite of the mids, but the draw's holding around the lows. And that tells you the market isn't buying a first half breakthrough yet. At 0-0 and 5 minutes, that pricing leans toward this, staying tight into the interval unless Mexico finally create a clear chance. Mexico's still a narrow favorite in the mids, but the draw is holding around the lows. So the market's basically saying tight game despite all that Mexico leaning size. At 0-0 on 5 minutes, that pricing points to this drifting toward halftime without a breakthrough.
.37 minutes, still 0-0. And Mexico have a real look from the set piece. Israel Reyes arriving centrally, right-footed from the middle of the box, but he can't keep it on target. That's the kind of second ball chance these dead ball moments are creating in a stop-start half.
Mexico's still the narrow favorite in the highs, with the draw now on the lows and Czechia lows. So that Mexico heavy buying isn't really moving the line. At 0-0 in the 390th minute, the market's basically pricing this to crawl toward halftime, unless Mexico finally turn a set piece into something real. Mexico's still the narrow favorite in the highs with the draw, steady in the lows, and Czechia lows. So that Mexico laning flow isn't shifting the price. At 0-0 nearing halftime, the market's basically calling for one more cagey spell unless Mexico finally land a clean set piece chance.
39 minutes and Mexico suddenly rattle up three. Efforts in a flash. Moras' drive is blocked. Santos forces a sharp save, and then Alvarado blazes over from the right. Matej Kovar stands tall for Czechia there, getting a strong hand to keep it 0-0.
Mexico still prices a narrow favorite in the highs, with the draw steady in the lows, even after another Mexico leading wave that hasn't lifted the line. At 0 on 4-0 minutes, that says the market expects this to stay tight into the break unless Mexico finally convert this pressure. Mexico's still only a mids favorite, with Czechia down in the lows, and even after another big Mexico leaning wave, the line's basically stuck. At 0-0 on 4-1 minutes, that steadiness screams no. First half breakthrough priced in, unless Mexico finally turn this pressure into a goal.
"42 minutes, still 0-0, and out of Hojnik wins Czechia a free kick in the attacking half. After that little Mexico flurry a few minutes ago, this is a real chance for Kesha to swing one into the mixer and ask questions at the back post. "42 minutes and Cesar Montes is penalized for the foul. Czechia get the free kick in the attacking half with it still 0-0. That's a needless one to give away here because one decent delivery and suddenly Mexico are defending a real first ball and second ball scramble. 43 minutes, still 0-0 intermesos. Czechia, a free kick out on the right wing. Guillermo Martinez, the one penalized for Mexico. That's another dangerous set-piece area. And with the half drifting toward the break, one clean delivery could finally force a real save or a scramble.
Mexico's still only a mids favorite with a draw in the mids. And even with heavy Mexico-leaning tickets, the price isn't really lifting. With it, 0-0 at 4 minutes. That's the market leaning to a cagey run into halftime unless Mexico finally nick one.
44 minutes, still 0-0. And David Dudera has a swing from outside the box after the set piece, but he can't keep it down and it flies wide. Czechia are at least getting that second ball look from these dead ball situations as we edge toward the break.
Mexico stays a narrow favorite in the mids with the drop in the mids, and even that big Mexico leaning flow isn't lifting the price. At 0-0 on 4 minutes, the market's basically braced for the interval to arrive, still level unless Mexico finally land one. Mexico's still only a narrow favorite in the mids with the draw sitting in the mids, even after those chunky Mexico-leaning buys. So the line's basically unmoved. At 0-0 right on halftime, that pricing says the market expects the break to arrive level unless Mexico finally turn pressure into a finish.
We've got a stoppage at 4-5-1. Play is delayed because Mikhail Sadilik is down, injured for Czechia, and at 0-0, that's a nervous moment, right on the edge of halftime. It also kills any late first half momentum just as these set pieces were starting to feel like the main route to a breakthrough.
Mexico remain a narrow favorite in the mids while the draws pushed up into the mids, even with another heavy Mexico-leaning wave that still can't lift the line. At 0-0 in stoppage time before the break, that pricing is basically braced for halftime to land level unless Mexico find a late moment. Mexico is still only a low mids favorite, while the draw sits in the mids even after more Mexico-leaning size. So the line's basically stuck with it. 0-0 at 4-5-1 and play pause for the Czechia injury. The market's leaning to reach halftime level. Mexico's still only a mids favorite with the drop around the highs. So despite all that Mexico leaning size, the line hasn't budged. With it, 0-0 at 4-5-1 and the injury stoppage, that pricing keeps pointing to halftime arriving level. Mexico's still just a mids favorite with a drop in the highs, and even those big Mexico buys aren't lifting the price. At 0 in first half stoppage time with the injury delay, the market's basically set for the break to arrive level. Mexico's still only a mids favorite while the draw sits in the highs in Czechia down near 2-0. So even with big Mexico leaning tickets, the line isn't really moving. At 0-0 in 4-5-2 with the stoppage, that pricing is basically braced for halftime to arrive level.
45-3, and Mexico have a go. Julañones lets fly from long range on the left, but he can't keep it down, and it stays 0-0. That's been the theme late in this half. Efforts from distance, but no one really forcing the breakthrough before the whistle.
Mexico still a narrow favorite in the lows with a drop near the highs, and that heavy Mexico buying still isn't forcing a reprice. At 0-0 and 4-5-3, the market's basically positioned for the whistle to hit with nothing separating them.
$45-3, and it's a foul by Tomáš for Czechia, handing Mexico a free kick back in their own defensive half. Still 0-0. That just slows everything down again in stoppage time. Mexico can take a breath, get bodies up, and see if there's one last delivery before the break.
Mexico are still only a low-ins favorite with the draw near 4-0, and even those big Mexico-leaning tickets haven't shifted the line. With stoppage time ticking at 0-0, that pricing is basically braced for the halftime whistle to arrive level. Mexico still sits as only a low S favorite with the draw basically at 4, and that tells you the big Mexico-leaning flow hasn't forced any real reprice. At halftime, at 0-0, the market's saying this stays tight unless Mexico find a cleaner final ball after the break. Mexico are still only a mids favorite with the draw near 4-0, and the book looks heavy on the offer side, so there's no real lift despite the Mexico leaning flow. At 0-0 heading into halftime, that pricing says one Mexico breakthrough after the restart is the cleanest swing point. Mexico stay a narrow favorite in the mids with the draw in the highs, and that huge sell wall on Czechia is keeping any repricing muted. At halftime, at 0-0, the market's basically saying Mexico need a cleaner second half chance to justify that edge. Mexico are still only a mids favorite with the draw hovering around 4, and the offers look stacked. So those big Mexico tickets aren't forcing a real reprice. At halftime, at 0-0, the market's basically waiting for a Mexico breakthrough after the restart to separate this. Mexico still prices as only a mids favorite with the draw near 4-0, and despite the Mexico leaning size, the offers look stacked, so there's no real second half reprice yet. At 0-0 at the break, that market stand says Mexico need an early clear chance after the restart to justify pulling away. Mexico's still just a mids favorite with the draw on the highs, and even with chunky Mexico leaning flow, the price looks capped by heavy sell-side liquidity. At halftime, at 0-0, that says the market needs Mexico to strike first after the restart to separate this. Mexico's still only a mid-saver with the draw in the highs. And that stacked sell-side liquidity is basically capping any Mexico lift despite the big tickets. At halftime, at 0-0, the market's telling you one early Mexico breakthrough after the restart is the clean swing. Mexico's still only a low favorite with a draw in the highs. So despite the Mexico leaning size, the market hasn't really budged. At 0-0, just after the restart, that keeps the draw very live unless Mexico turned this early second half spell into a clear chance. Mexico's still only a low F favorite with the draw sitting in the highs, so that heavy Mexico buying hasn't translated into a meaningful reprice. With it, 0-0. Just after the restart, the market's basically saying the stalemate remains very live right now. Mexico are still only a mids favorite with a draw on the highs, and even those big Mexico buys aren't shifting the line much. At 0-0 early in the second half, that keeps the stalemate very live unless Mexico create the next clear chance. Mexico are still just a lows favorite with the draw in the highs, and that massive sell side depth is capping any move. Even with heavy Mexico leaning tickets, at 0-0 on for 7 minutes, the longer this stays cagey, the more that draw price looks like the market's anchor. Mexico stay a narrow favorite in the mid-range with the draw still highs. And that huge sell-side depth is basically pinning the prices despite the Mexico leaning tickets. At 0-0 on 4-8 minutes, every quiet stretch keeps the draw right in the driving seat. Mexico are still only a mids favorite with a draw sitting in the highs, and that huge sell side depth is basically pinning the market despite the Mexico leaning tickets. At 0-0 on 4-8 minutes, this pricing says the stalemate is still the base case unless Mexico finally turn pressure into a clear-cut chance. Mexico are still only a mids favorite with the draw in the highs, and that heavy sell side liquidity is keeping a lid on any Mexico drift upward despite the big tickets. At 0-0 in the 4-9th, every scoreless minute keeps the draw as the market's anchor. Mexico remain a narrow favorite in the low range with the draw still highs, and that massive sell side depth is keeping the market pinned despite the big Mexico tickets. At 0-0 on 5-0 minutes, every quiet passage just reinforces the draw as the anchor, unless Mexico finally find a clean breakthrough. Mexico are still only a lows favorite with the draw sitting around the highs, and the book looks pinned by heavy sell side depth, despite those big Mexico-leaning tickets. At 0-0 on 5-0 minutes, that pricing keeps the draw as the market's anchor, unless Mexico finally land the next clear chance.
Two quick fouls from Mexico here in the vibe to ND and Fent and Sen. Oh, then so Czechia get another set piece to swing in with it. Still 0-0. Said that's the kind of needless contact that keeps handing Czechia these wide free kick platforms to load the box.
Mexico are still only a low favorite with the draw around 4-0, and despite the big Mexico-leaning size, the pricing looks pinned rather than trending. At 0-0 in the 5-3 RD, that keeps the stalemate as the market's base case, unless Mexico finally create the next clear chance. Mexico are still only a low favorite with the draw, basically level around 4-0, and despite those chunky Mexico-leaning tickets, the price action looks pinned by heavy sell-side liquidity. At 0-0 the 5-3 RD, that's the market leaning to a grind, unless Mexico turn the spell into a real chance.
54 minutes, and it's a corner for Czechia. Jorge Sanez, the one who's had to concede it, and once again, Mexico are being dragged into defending another dead ball situation. At 0-0. These set pieces feel like Czechia's cleanest route to finally force a real scramble in the 6-yard box.
Mexico's price has snapped up to roughly 3/4 implied, while the draw has been marked down into the teens. So that's a decisive re-rate rather than the pinned market we had earlier. At 0-0 and 5-4 minutes, it's basically saying Mexico are expected to find a breakthrough before this turns into a stalemate. Mexico have been aggressively repriced to around a 3/4 favorite. Mexico's win probability jumps sharply with that 5th minute opener, and you'll typically see the draw price drift while the Czechia comeback line lengthens. With Mexico 1-0 up, the market is basically saying Czechia now need a big swing in momentum just to force 1-1.
Mexico have struck first on 55 minutes. Mateo Chavez makes it 1-0. Can you give us the immediate market reprice and what it implies for the draw and Czechia comeback chances?
Mexico are now priced as a clear roughly 8-0 favorite, with the drawdown in the high teens and Czechia in low single digits, and the book stacked on the sell side for any Czechia comeback. At 5-6 minutes and 1-0 Mexico, the market's saying Czechia need an equalizer soon, or this starts to lock. Mexico are holding around an 8-0 win chance now, with the draw in the mid-teens and Czechia down near single digits, and there's huge sell-side supply sitting above any Czechia bounce. At 5-6 minutes till Mexico, the market's basically daring Czechia to find an equalizer quickly, or this starts to feel locked. Mexico are holding around an 8-0 win chance at 5-7 minutes, with Czechia down near 3 and the draw in the high teens, and the books still stacked against any Czechia bounce. With Mexico 1-0 up, that pricing says Czechia needed. Mexico are still priced around an 8-0 favorite, with Czechia down near 3, and the order book is stacked with heavy sell-side supply against any Czechia bounce. At 1:01 5-7 minutes, that's the market basically saying Czechia need an equalizer soon, or Mexico can manage this out. Mexico still prices roughly an 8-0 favorite, with Czechia stuck in the low single digits and a mountain of sell side sitting above any home comeback. At 5-8 minutes and 1-0, the market's basically saying Czechia need that equalizer soon, or Mexico can just see this out.
58 minutes and it's a foul by Julian Quiñones on Tomas Shelesh. So Czechia win the free kick back in their own defensive half, with Mexico leading 1-0. Mexico have just got to be careful now. These cheap fouls keep giving Czechia chances to push bodies up and load the next ball into the mixer.
Mexico's still priced around an 8-0 favorite, with Czechia down near 3 and the book heavily stacked against any home comeback. At 1:01 5-8 minutes, as the market's saying, Chica need an equalizer quickly, or Mexico can just manage the clock. Mexico still sitting around an 8-0 win chance, with Czechia down near 4 and a massive wall of sell orders overhead. If the home side tries to rally at 5-9 minutes and 1-0, that pricing says Czechia need an equalizer soon, or Mexico can just bleed this clock. Mexico still priced around an 8-0 favorite at 6 minutes with Czechia down near 5 in the book, showing a big wall of supply against any home comeback. With Mexico, runner-up that market stand says Czechia need an equalizer soon, or Mexico can just manage the tempo. Mexico's been marked up into the lojos now, and Czechia's win line is basically pinned near 0 with a massive wall of offers above any bounce. At 6 minutes to Mexico, that's the market saying the equalizer window is closing fast.
61 minutes, Czechia try their luck through Mikel Sadilek from outside the box, but Mexico get a body right in the line and block it. That's the problem. At wall down, the long-range hit is there, but Mexico's defensive shape is set, and they're not giving you a clean sight of goal.
Mexico's now priced in the mid-0 range to win, with Czechia basically written off in the draw, only a thin sliver. So that 1-0 lead is being treated as close to locked. At 61 minutes, unless Czechia find a real equalizer chance soon, Mexico can just keep the ball and run this down. Mexico's win odds have been marked up into the mid-zodies, while Czechia are basically priced out, and the draw is only a tiny slice with heavy sell while still capping any comeback. At 62 minutes,
goal for Mexico on 61 minutes. Czechia, Mexico 2 and it's Julian Quiñones from point-blank range to finish off a fast break. That is absolutely ruthless. Czechia take a swing from distance, it gets shut down, and Mexico punish them in seconds at the other end.
Mexico are now priced in the mid to highs to win with Czechia, effectively near 0, and the draw just a thin single-digit slice, and the sell side still towers over any home. Bouncer. At 0-2-1-6, 2 minutes, the market's basically saying Czechia need the next goal immediately, or Mexico can just manage this home. Mexico's priced in the highsies to win now with Czechia essentially written off and the draw only a tiny sliver, and the book is still stacked heavily against any home rally. At 0-2-1-6, 2 minutes, Czechia need the next goal right away, or Mexico can just slow it down and see this out. Mexico's price
63 minutes and Mexico go to the bench with a double change. Santiago Giménez is on for Guillermo Martinez, and Ope Vargas replaces Luis Romo with a 2-0 cushion. That's a clear signal. Mexico want fresh legs and control in midfield to manage the second half.
Mexico's win line is basically pinned in the highs now, with Czechia priced near 0 and the draw only a tiny couple of percent. At 3 minutes and 2-0, that's the market saying Mexico can play keep ball and force Czechia to land a miracle punch. Mexico's win line is basically pinned in the highs again, with Czechia near 0 and the draw only a thin few percent. At 3 minutes and 2-0, that pricing says Mexico can slow the tempo, protect the middle, and make Czechia chase shadows.
"64 minutes and Edson Alvarez goes into the book for Mexico late and heavy enough to earn a yellow, and it gives Czechia a free kick out on the left. At 2-0 down, Czechia will fancy this as a rare chance to sling one into the danger area and ask questions.
Mexico's win price is basically pinned in the highs now, while Czechia are effectively 0, and the draw is only a tiny single-digit slice. At 5 minutes and 2-0, the market's saying Mexico can just manage territory and make Czechia's next goal feel miles away. Mexico still prices the highest favorite with Czechia basically near zero and the draw only a tiny sliver, so the market hasn't budged despite the set piece noise. At 6-5 minutes and 2-0 Czechia, Mexico still pricing the highs to win with Czechia down around 1% and the draw only a few percent. So the book is basically unchanged at 6-5 minutes. At 0-2, that tells you the market thinks Mexico can absorb this Chicken Suchek push and keep it managed.
.66 and it's a corner for Czechia at 0-2. Israel Reyes, the one who's had to concede it for Mexico. With Chicken Suchek now on, this is exactly the kind of dead ball moment Czechia need to turn into a real first contact in the 6-yard box.
Mexico is still priced as a near certain winner in the highest range, with Czechia essentially at zero, and the draw only a thin few percent, so the book's barely reacting. At 6 minutes and 2-0, that says this Czech corner needs to turn into the next goal fast. Or Mexico just bleeds the clock. Mexico still prices a near lock at roughly 9-7 with Czechia around 1 and the draw about 3. So the market's basically unmoved even with that corner pressure. At 0-2 in the 6th Czechia. Need this set piece to spark the next goal, or Mexico just keeps it calm and closes it out. Mexico's still trading as a near lock in the highs range with Czechia basically priced out and the draw only a thin, low single-digit chance, so the book isn't buying a comeback? At 6-7 minutes and 0-2 Czechia need a next goal soon, or Mexico can just manage possession and run this down.
67 minutes and it's yet another corner for Czechia at 0-2. Mexico forced to concede again, this time under pressure from Alvarez and then Vargas in quick succession. Which Chicken Suchek will feel this is the moment to finally win that first header in the 6-yard box. Dudera has a goal from outside the box after that Czechia corner, but he leads back and sends it sailing over. Another set-piece moment that doesn't turn into a real test for Mexico at 0-2. And now we've got a drinks break at 6. 8 minutes, a chance for Mexico to reset and kill Czechia's momentum.
Mexico still priced as a near certainty around the highs, with the draw only a tiny low single-digit chance and Czechia effectively written off. At 9 minutes and 02, that tells you the market thinks Mexico can ride out this set piece spell and see it home. Mexico still trading in the high range to win with the draw, only a couple percent in Czechia effectively priced out. So the book's saying nothing has really changed. At 7 minutes and 02, Czechia need the next goal right now, or Mexico can just keep squeezing the clock. Mexico still priced as a near certain winner in the high Sus, with the draw stuck around a couple percent, and Czechia effectively off the board. At 1 minutes and 20, that's the market saying Mexico can just stay compact, kill transitions, and see this out.
"72 minutes. Mexico make another change. Alvaro Fidalgo is on for Gilberto Mora, and it's a real manage the game move at 2-0 up. Fresh legs in midfield now to keep the ball moving and take the sting out of any late Czechia set-piece push.
Mexico still prices a highs near lock with a draw only around a couple percent, and Czechia effectively off the board, so the market's barely blinking at 7-2 minutes. At 0-2, that screams Mexico can keep it tidy, slow the rhythm, and make the clock their best defender.
"74 minutes and Mexico win a free kick deep in their own head as Robin Reinert clips Santiago Gomez. At 2-0 up, that's exactly what Mexico want now. Take the sting out of Czechia's pressure, get everyone up the pitch, and restart on their terms.
Mexico still prices a near lock in the highs, with the draw only a tiny couple percent sliver, and Czechia basically written off. At 7:04 minutes and 0:02, that's the market back in Mexico. To keep waiting cheap fouls, slow the tempo, and close this out.
At 7:05 minutes, it's still Czechia 0, Mexico 2, and you can feel Czechia searching for a spark with those changes. The problem is the best moments they've had lately have been set pieces and long-range efforts, and Mexico are staying compact and resetting the rhythm whenever they can. 75 minutes, and it's another corner for Czechia. Mateo Chavez, the one who's had to concede it, with Mexico still leading 2-0. This is where Schick and Suchek have to make it count. Czechia need a clean purse contact in the 6-yard box to give themselves any lifeline.
Mexico is trading like a near certain winner in the highs, with a draw only a couple percent and Czechia essentially off the board. So the market's still not paying for this corner pressure. At 75 minutes and 2-0, Czechia need the next goal immediately, or Mexico just keeps managing the tempo to the whistle.
75 minutes gone, Czechia still trail Mexico by 2, and that flat body language is a real worry this late on. It's another Czech corner, but unless Schick or Suchek finally get a clean first header, Mexico will fancy seeing this out comfortably. 76 minutes gone, Czechia still trail Mexico by 2, and it does feel like Mexico are seeing off everything that's being thrown into their box right now. Czechia's best route is still these corners, but without a clean first contact from Schick or Suchek, the belief just drains away. 76 minutes, and Mexico with another free kick deep in their own half. Cesar Montes draws the foul from Tomas Suchek. At 2-up, that's perfect game management from Mexico. Slow it down, get bodies upfield, and make Czechia restart from a long way back.
Mexico still priced as a near lock around 9-8, with the draw stuck near 2 and Czechia effectively at 0. So the book is saying the comeback door is basically shut. At 6 minutes and 2-0, Mexico can keep winning those little stoppages and let the clock do the defending. Mexico still prices a near lock at about 9-8 with the draw, only a tiny couple percent sliver, and Czechia basically off the board, so there's no real repricing. At 7 minutes and 2-0 up, Mexico can keep slowing the rhythm and make time the main opponent.
77 minutes gone, Czechia still trail Mexico by 2, and it's starting to look like the urgency has drained out of them in this final stretch. Mexico are just calmly soaking up those set-piece moments and slowing the rhythm whenever they need to, with the crowd right behind them. 77 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 2, and it does feel like Mexico are ready to shut the door with the late crowd pleasing change. If that experienced figure comes on, it's all about calming the box on set pieces and keeping the tempo exactly where Mexico want it. 77 minutes, and Julian Quinones goes close again from Mexico. He gets his head on it from the middle of the box, but can't keep it down. That's the warning sign for Czechia. Even at 2-up, Mexico are still arriving in the danger area when the chance opens.
Mexico's win price is basically pinned in the highs again, with Czechia effectively off the board, and the draw only a thin 1.2% sliver. At 7 minutes and 2-0, that's the market saying Mexico can keep managing stoppages and see this out without drama. Mexico is still priced as a near lock in the high range, with the draw barely a 1 flyer and Czechia essentially 0, so there's no real shift in belief. At 8 minutes and 2-0,
78 minutes, and Mexico make a double change. Guillermo Ochoa comes on for Rulu Rangel, and Jesus Gallardo replaces Mateo Chavez. That's a clear signal of game management at 2N, fresh legs at the back, and a veteran keeper to steady any late Czech set-piece pressure. At 8 minutes, it's still Czechia 0, Mexico 2, and Mexico have even rolled out the legend. Guillermo Ochoa is on, and the stadium absolutely lifts. That kind of change screams control hands for the final set pieces, and Mexico can just manage the clock from here.
Mexico's win line is basically pinned at a near certain highs with the draw, a tiny 1% sliver, and Czechia priced out. So the book isn't reacting to those corners at all. At 8 minutes and 2-0, Mexico Just need to keep managing stoppages and not give Czechia a set-piece lifeline.
79 minutes on the clock. Czechia still 0, Mexico 2, and Mexico have clearly shifted into closeout mode, with Ochoa now organizing everything behind that back line. Czechia's route back still looks like it has to come from a dead ball moment, but Mexico are buying time with those fouls, one in their own half.
Mexico still prices a near certain winner in the highs, with Czechia essentially at 0, and the draw only a tiny lows included chance, so there's no real repricing. At 79 minutes and 2-0, it's telling you, Mexico just need to stay disciplined and not hand Czechia a cheap set-piece goal.
Quarter for Mexico at 7-9 minutes. Sadilic, the one who's had to concede it, and Mexico still lead Czechia by 2. This is a perfect moment to chew up seconds and make Czechia defend the first ball and the second ball before they can even think about a late push.
Mexico still trading as a near certain winner in the high suits, with a draw barely a 1% punt, and Czechia essentially priced out. So the market's staying calm. At 80 minutes and 2-0, Mexico just need to keep it tidy and avoid conceding a cheap set piece.
At 80 minutes, it's still Czechia 0, Mexico 2, and the headline is that Guillermo Ochoa's come on to a thunderous ovation. You can feel how that substitution settles Mexico even more. Veteran hands, loud organization, and the clock suddenly feels like Mexico's ally. 79 minutes gone. Czechia still chump Mexico by 2, and Mexico are in pure closeout mode now. With Ochoa barking orders and Mexico even winning their own corner, every restart is another little chunk of time taken away from Czechia. 81 minutes, Dudira lets fly from outside the box for Czechia, but he drags it wide left and Mexico win a free kick deep in their own half as shit clips Alvarez. That's exactly what Mexico won at 2-0 up. Another stoppage, another reset, and the clock keeps bleeding away.
Mexico still prices a near certain Mexico win in the highs, with a draw, a tiny lows, in single-digit sliver, and Czechia effectively off the board. So there's no real repricing. At 81 minutes and 2-0, that's the market saying Mexico can just keep bleeding stoppages and protect the clean sheet.
81 minutes gone, Czechia nil, Mexico 2, and you can feel the Azteca turning these last moments into a party. Ochoa's name alone has lifted the volume. Czechia's best idea there was Dudera from range, and when that's the option, Mexico know they've got the game exactly where they want it.
Mexico's win price is basically pinned at a near certain highs with the draw, a tiny 1-2% sliver, and Czechia effectively off the board. At 2 minutes and 2-0, the market's saying Mexico just need to keep it tidy and not concede one set piece. Lifeline.
82 minutes and Jorge Sanchez concedes the foul. Hufal wins a free kick for Quiche out on that left wing. At 2-0 down, this is exactly the kind of delivery Czechia have to make count. But Mexico will be delighted to slow it down and get set. At 2 minutes, it's Czechia 0, Mexico 2. And the problem for Czechia is staring them in the face. They barely laid a glove on the keeper, and it's been long-range hope more than real chances. When your forwards are living on scraps this late, even a good free kick delivery has to be perfect. 83 minutes at the Azteca, Czechia 0, Mexico 2, and you can feel the stadium's history pressing down on every restart. With Mexico in control, that noise is turning the final minutes into a celebration rather than a siege. 83 minutes gone, Czechia still trail Mexico 2-0, and it's been painfully blunt in the final third. When your best looks are hopeful swings from distance like that Dudera effort, Mexico can sit in, manage the fouls, and let the clock do the work.
Mexico basically prices a lock at roughly 9-9, with the draw sitting around 1, and Czechia effectively dead, so the market's not buying any late twist here. At 83 minutes and 2-0, Mexico can keep killing the clock and avoid one needless set-piece concession.
84 minutes gone. Czechia still trail Mexico 2-0, and play may have to stop here with a player down in the box after Ochoa waved urgently to the officials. That kind of interruption kills Czechia's set-piece momentum and lets Mexico get organized again.
Mexico was still priced as a near certain winner at roughly 9-9 with a draw around 1 and Czechia effectively off the board, so there's no real late game repricing. At 84 minutes and 2-0 up Mexico, just need to manage this stoppage and keep the restart slow.
84 minutes, Czechia still down 2-0, and there's a player down in the Mexico box after that set-piece scramble. Ochoa's been quick to flag it to the referee. If this turns into a stoppage, it's a gift for Mexico to reset their marking and drain another slice off the clock. 84 minutes, Czechia still trail Mexico 2-0, and the referee's attention turns to an injured Czechia player down in the box holding that ankle. If this becomes a stoppage, it's perfect for Mexico. Slow the restart, get everyone matched up, and let the seconds disappear.
Mexico is settled at effectively 1-0-0 now with Czechia, and the draw pinned to 0, and the book still one way behind Mexico. With full time at 0-3, there's no remaining match risk to price. This is just post-whistle positioning.
Full-time Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and it's a second-half takeover from Otoy with 3 goals after the break. Once that tempo lifted, Mexico were ruthless in the box, and Czechia never found a clear way through. Fidalgo's late finish just sealed it. Full-time Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and it really was a second-half takeover after a quiet opening 4-5. Mexico lifted the pace, got runners into the box, and that late Fidalgo finish, set up by Alvarado, put the final stamp on it.
Mexico is still priced as a complete lock, with Mexico effectively at 1-0 and Czechia and the draw pinned to 0 on a one-way book. With full time confirmed at 0-3, there's no match uncertainty left. This is purely settlement and cleanup flow. Now,
full-time, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and that's where Mexico won it. After the break, they cranked the tempo and attacked the space the moment Czechia had to open up. 3 second-half goals, another clean sheet, and it never looked like slipping once. They found that extra gear. Full-time, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and it's a match Mexico won with that second-half jump in intensity. Once the game opened up, they got runners into the box and punished the spaces capped by Fidalgo's late finish to seal it. Full time at 9-7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and it's a clean, clinical away win. That late Fidalgo finish just underlined it. Mexico got bodies into the box when it mattered, while Czechia's best moments came from hopeful efforts from distance. Full time, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and he even had that lovely late touch, Guillermo Ochoa stepping onto the pitch at 4-0. In a game Mexico had totally under control, you could feel the respect in the way teammates and fans greeted him. Full-time Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico had closed it out with real authority. That late Fidalgo finish was the final punch, but the story is Mexico's second-half sharpness in the box and a clean sheet, they never really looked like losing. Full time at 9:07 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico see it out with real control. That late Fidalgo finish to the top corner was the final touch, and Czechia's best looks in stoppage time were still just efforts from distance. Full time at 9 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico walk away with a clean, commanding win. That late Fidalgo finish was the final stamp, and Czechia's best late moments never became more than long-range tries. Full time, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and it's the kind of win that screams control as much as quality. Even with rotation and Ochoa getting minutes, Mexico found that extra gear after the break and still kept the clean sheet. Proper game management heading into the knockouts. And that's full time at 97 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, a clean and commanding win for El Tri. The second half was the difference. Mexico was sharper in the box, and that late Fidalgo finish just put a final seal on it.
Mexico is fully settled as the winner with the book one way on Mexico and Czechia, plus the draw effectively worthless and untradeable. With it finished 0-3, there's no football risk left here. This is just settlement flow and people tidying positions after the whistle.
That's full time. Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico finish it off with a clean sheet and real control. Czechia's late efforts never truly tested them, while Mexico's sharpness in the box, capped by Fidalgo, made the difference. Full time at 9-7, mid Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico finish it with a clean, commanding win. That late Fidalgo strike was the final statement, and even in stoppage time, Czechia's best looks were still from range rather than clear chances. Full time at 9, 7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico closed out with a clean sheet in real authority. That late Fidalgo finish was the final word, and Czechia's best late moments still came from distance rather than clear-cut openings. Full time at 9 to 7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico take you with a clean sheet and real authority. That late Fidalgo goal was the final stamp, and Czechia's best late moments still came from distance rather than clear openings. Full time at 9, 7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico have seen it out with real authority. Even in the late moment, Czechia were reduced to speculative efforts while Mexico stayed composed and finished the job with that Fidalgo strike. Full time at 9-7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico lead with a clean sheet and a really commanding scoreline. That late Fidalgo finish just underlined how clinical Mexico were when the chances opened up, while Czechia's late efforts never turned into a clear chance. Full time at 9-7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico signed off with a clean sheet and a really convincing margin. Even in stoppage time, Czechia's best moments were long-range efforts while Mexico stayed composed and finished clinically. Full-time Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and it's a clean sheet win that never really looked in doubt by the end. That late Fidalgo finish just underlined Mexico's composure in the box, while Czechia's best late efforts stayed speculative from distance. Full time at 97 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico walk away with a clean sheet and a commanding scoreline. That late Fidalgo finish was the final punch, and Czechia's best late moments still came from distance rather than clear openings. Full time at 9 to 7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico see it out with a clean sheet and a really convincing margin. That late Fidalgo finish was the killer touch, and Czechia's best looks in the closing stages still came from range rather than clear openings. Full time at 9 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico take the clean sheet with a really commanding win. That late Fidalgo finish just put a bow on it, and Czechia's best moments at the end still came from distance rather than clear openings. Full time at 9-7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico walk away with a clean sheet and a commanding win. That late Fidalgo finish just underlined how sharp Mexico were in the box, while Czechia's best chances never really moved beyond long-range efforts. Full time at 9-7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico finished it off with a clean sheet and a commanding margin. That late Fidalgo goal was the final touch, and even in the closing minutes, Czechia's efforts never turned into a clear opening. Full time at 97 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico hosted out with a clean sheet and a really convincing margin. That late Fidalgo finish was the final word, and Czechia's best late moments never went beyond hopeful efforts from distance. That's full-time Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico finished with a clean sheet and a really emphatic scoreline. Even late on, Czechia's best looks were from range, while Mexico stayed composed and punished the space when it opened up. Mateo Chavez is the official player of the match as Mexico finished it off 3-0 against Czechia, and that first international goal of his set the platform for everything that followed. You can feel it's a statement night for Mexico's younger group. One of them grabbed the moment and never let go. Full time confirmed Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico hosted out with a clean sheet. That late Fidalgo strike just stamped the scoreline, and Czechia's best late efforts never really turned into a clear-cut chance. Full time confirmed Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico take the clean sheet with a commanding win. That late Fidalgo finish was the final stamp, and Czechia's late efforts never really shifted beyond shots from distance. Full time at 9-7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico sign off with a clean sheet and a ruthless scoreline. Even in the closing stages, Czechia were reduced to speculative efforts while Mexico stayed composed and finished their big moment in the box. Mateo Cham is your official player of the match as Mexico finished it off 3-0 against Czechia, and that opener being his first international goal is a real breakthrough moment. Once Mexico had that lead, they looked composed and clinical, and the clean sheet just underlines the control. Full time confirmed at 9-7 minutes. Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico lead with a clean sheet and a really authoritative win. That late Padago finish was the final punch, and Czechia's best late moments still came from distance rather than a clear opening. Full time at 9-7 minutes, Czechia 0, Mexico 3, and Mexico take it with a clean sheet and real control. That late Fidalgo finish was the final step, and Czechia just couldn't turn those long-range efforts into a genuine opening. Full time at 9.